We're live here at the offices of Scarce City. I'm your host, Chris Tremount, Chief Executive Pleb at Scarce City. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties. We're trying to power through here. I got MVDEX on my Telegram call. We can't get his mic working on the stream here, so we're going to try to mic him in through my speakers. The quality might be absolutely terrible. It may not work, but we figure it's worth a try. Before I bring him on, I want to give a quick introduction on how Lightning auctions work for anyone who's new here. We are accepting bids. If you want to place a bid, go to scarce.city homepage. Make your way to 693623. It's the first button. You can't miss it. This is a 48-hour auction, so you got some time here, but we already got some bids on the board. Current top bid is from none other than Cryptograffiti, absolute legend, 1 million sats. If you want to place a bid, scroll down here, input how much you want to bid in sats. We do the sats math for you. We tell you how much you're bidding in USD. We tell you how much collateral you'll have to put up for that bid. It's just about 1%. Input an email address. If it's your first time inputting an email address with us, you will also put in a bidder name with that. That's what displays in the bid table once you place your bid. From there, we'll direct you to BTC Pay server. That's where you'll pay your collateral. Once the auction's over, the top bidder has a few hours to pay their top bid. Assuming they do, everybody gets their collateral back ASAP. If not, second place gets their shot at paying their bid. Now, if you don't want to put down a deposit with every single bid, maybe you're not on Lightning or whatever, the best option for you is to click on this link here, register, log in. You put down 500,000 sats and you got unlimited bids. All right. That means you can bid as much as you want throughout the auction and you don't have to put down deposits with every single bid. And of course, again, you get that back once the auction's over. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to try to bring on my man here, MVDEX. MVDEX, can you hear me?
I can. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, good. Look, you're sounding good on my end. Epo, I see you're in the chat. If you can tell us if MVDEX is sounding okay, that'd be helpful. We're going to try to power through this thing. How you doing, man?
I'm doing very good, man. I've been going through a bunch of stuff lately, a lot of life changes, but overall, you know, Bitcoin is just a beautiful foundation to have your roots set in, and it makes kind of everything else that you got to deal with in life a little bit easier.
Yeah, I hear that. That's a great way to put it. And yeah, man, you know, familiar with your troubles. I'm not gonna put it out here, but you know, we're with you, man. Stay strong. Appreciate you coming through on this, despite everything that's going on. And thank you for creating such a beautiful artwork here, and for trusting us with it. Really looking forward to see this auction develop.
Yeah, thank you. It was just such a thrill to be able to get involved and get something on there. I mean, I remember when you guys first started seeing the first auction you guys did and being like, oh, you know, I hope one day I can get something up on, you know, on there, and to see it happening now is just awesome. And you guys are doing great, like, you know, having a lot of success, got a lot of good artists coming through, and seems like the platform's working great. So congratulations on, you know, pulling it all off.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we're just trying to do the best we can over here. A lot we can do to improve, but every day we get a little bit better. And thanks to artists like you, we always have solid artwork here to auction off. The first time I laid eyes on your artwork, I just was totally enthralled by it. You got a super unique style, and I want to dig into the foundation of that. But before we do that, tell us about your background before Bitcoin. What do you think about your background predisposed you to eventually finding Bitcoin?
Well, I gotta thank my parents a lot. I mean, I grew up in the countryside, on kind of small farm, and I'm an only child, so creativity was kind of the only thing I had to play with. And and my dad is an entrepreneur, and so that kind of got me thinking about entrepreneurial stuff early. Yeah, both my parents were just extremely supportive for anything that I wanted to do. That if I, put everything I had into it, that I'd be able to make it happen, whatever it is. So I guess just coming from like a very free background was the perfect foundation for getting into Bitcoin. I was just always looking for opportunities for either to build a business or to create something, to make something. And so naturally, when I stumbled upon Bitcoin, I was able to recognize the opportunity and get involved. And then part of the reason that I did this piece with Safe is just going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. I mean, none of the economics was really packaged up well for a very long time. You had to really get into some obscure sources and places on the internet to learn about maximalism and the economic principles. And Safe did one of the, I think, greatest things for the Bitcoin community, which was kind of binding all the maximalists together through the force of Austrian economics. And the Bitcoin standard, for reading it, really brought Bitcoin from being like a cool technology kind of project and okay, it's money, and like the way that a lot of these shitcoiners think, to really realizing how we're going to shape everything differently in our entire lives from this root of running on a hard money system. And I think, I don't know, like I wasn't too tuned in to, like, I didn't get on Twitter for a while, and but I really feel like the Bitcoin standard spearheaded and grouped all the maximalists together and kind of set the stage for the core foundation, and definitely had a big impact on the creation of Bull Bitcoin and many other proudly maximalist, skin in the game Bitcoin companies.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective, and I'm just kind of thinking about it as you're saying it, and I'm recalling the same type of development where, as soon as Bitcoin standard came out, that's really where I noticed there being a clear dividing line between Bitcoin and the rest of crypto. So I mean, there's just no doubt how much influence the Bitcoin standard had, and it's like, every day you hear of someone who now has just massive influence in Bitcoin recalling back to reading the Bitcoin standard. Like, I can't imagine how many people this book has orange pilled along the way, and like, the second, third order effects of that. Like the one that comes to mind right now is Michael Saylor saying like he bought $500 million worth of Bitcoin as soon as he read that book.
Yeah, I mean, everyone that it was a great tool for people who are already financially successful in their respective areas. But when everything they heard about Bitcoin, it just probably seems like a joke to them. And then you deliver them the Bitcoin standard, and after they read it, they really get the full picture. And I mean, I think one of the key things in it was just like the origins of money, and like how, like why this fiat system exists right now, and who is benefiting, who is losing from it, and then obviously how a gold standard is a much better hard money system, is a much better way to operate. I mean, like the stories about the shells and like all the whole history of what we've used throughout humanity as money, and I found that totally fascinating, because for anyone coming into the space, the biggest obstacle is always they don't even know what money is.
Yeah.
In the first place. They don't know what fiat is. They don't even know a central bank exists or whatever, that people just see not, right? So
yeah, they don't even know to ask the question, right? Like we're not even like, I can't remember even asking the question, what is money myself, before I was forced to, when you know, Bitcoin came to my attention. And yeah, man, you're right. I was kind of a latecomer to this space, 2017. So at that point, there was already a ton of information content out there. But even then, like it's all kind of pieced together through podcasts and tweets and blogs and whatever. Safe taking the academic approach to put it into, you know, a logical thread from start to finish is just hugely helpful for anyone trying to understand, first of all, but also just gives it all a ton of credibility. And I feel like that the whole space has just become much more legitimized because of the groundwork that he laid through the book.
yeah, absolutely, man. And it's the first step in getting you onto the track where you realize like this is a total rewiring of your life and your approach to it, right? Bitcoin is much bigger than anything that it seems on the surface level when you first start looking at it. So
yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy. So I'm happy to have this completed and out. I've been working on it for a long time. Francis just sent me a bunch of videos where we were back in the studio and it's like putting on the first layers. And it was actually one of the hardest pieces for me to finish because as I was kind of working on it, it was like one of them that I was most self-conscious of as I was pulling it together. And as we know in the Bitcoin standard, there's the whole piece on, you know, Fiat Art. And I was like, well, I'm investing all this time into making this. And like at the end of it all, like, you know, when I show it to Safe, like he better fucking think it's pretty neat.
Yeah, you know, you got a huge critic waiting for you.
Yeah. So anyways, I got it out to him and then I just like sent it. I was like, all right, moment of truth. And then sent all the photos and then just like paste for a couple hours waiting, be like, shit, if he thinks this is Fiat Art, like this whole thing is fucked. But yeah, and then I actually had this was one of the first pieces that I was gonna put some kind of hardwiring stuff into. But unfortunately I'm figuring out how to build these like solder light system things and took a bunch of tries, and it was kind of a last minute idea to get it worked in. So there's some interesting ties from this piece to some of the ones that I will make next. As in like it was the one that spawned this kind of hardwiring, actual kind of interactive lighting stuff that I'm going to try and get planted into some of the pieces. And then also there's a big focus in it on the central bank time thieves. There's some bills on there that are the US bills, right? US 100. And it's kind of every time I see the faces of the founding fathers on US money, it just feels like a total, it's like a slap in the face to them. It's disgraceful almost. And so I strip that away and kind of show that like, no, like the fiat money is not what the founding fathers had in mind at all. And even there's a little piece in there where there's the left one of Andrew Jackson, who famously killed the central bank in the United States and stopped after they had tried to form one, stopped it from happening. And you know, the legend goes his dying words were, "I killed the bank." And yeah,
I've never heard that before.
So, yeah, there's some pretty amazing drawings and like newspaper articles from the time when it was all happening. And there's one where there's just Andrew Jackson and this giant leviathan of like all the different bankers that were trying to make the central bank happen. And he was able to shut down the whole thing and kill it. And then it took them many years later until, you know, they were actually able to once again get the central bank in, and no one was in the way to stop it, because these guys knew that the collapse of the United States, the first step to destroying what they had worked so hard to build would be the debasement of the currency and the destruction of it. And so in the same way that they did everything they could to Bitcoiners are kind of the next generation that is putting up a stand to end the debasement and end the robbery and stop the time thieves.
That's fascinating, man. And yeah, it's a hell of a perspective to see it come around full circle. And now I've got to go do my research on Andrew Jackson. I always knew he was a wild dude, but definitely want to get into the details of that now. So many layers to this piece, and I'd like to go through them one by one. Let's start at the title. What's the significance of the title 693623?
Okay, so the significance of I have always had a problem with naming the artwork that I've made, like everything throughout time. It just like there's just something like so lame about titles to these things, and I think it can either like distract or take away, or it adds a layer of my own interpretation when I put a title on something, and I just wanted to stop titling works. And so I was originally inspired by Jackson Pollock, who notoriously his works were labeled as numbers. And he would just start every year with number 1, number 2, number 3, and then you'd just keep making them throughout the year. And then at the end of that year, he would start the next year again at 1, 2, 3. And so I started using a little system like that. And I was like, well, I'm just going to title the pieces with this dating system. And I was playing around with it, and then just trying to avoid, like, I want all my work to just be open 100% to interpretation. Like, I'm putting a lot of messages and things that I want in there, but I want like the viewer from when they stand in front of one of my works to just have a full experience of enjoying it and taking it in and making up their own ideas and getting, creative with their impression from it. And anyway, then the NFT stuff started exploding, and I'm looking at this NFT stuff being like, holy fucking shit, this is completely bullshit. And like the idea that like, okay, well, it's the artist's signature and just I don't have to talk about NFTs, you guys know how they work, it's just fucking ridiculous. And I was basically like, well, you could pretty well, what they're claiming, do the exact same thing using Bitcoin. And so that's what I was able to do thanks to Rodolfo and CoinKite. They had these open dimes, and I wanted, my artwork is physical. I didn't want to do anything digital. Just, to spend, like I saw on Twitter the other day, this, some blurry photo or something, right, that costs like 20 million or something. That's just like a file on your computer. It's just totally ridiculous. And I think maybe there's a time in the future for that kind of stuff. Like there's some examples of skins in video games, like for Counter-Strike and stuff, where it could be a pretty big market at some point. But I think right now it's kind of like the same thing with blockchain, where it's just like a premature forcing and a scam, basically. So anyway, I got a Bitcoin wallet that I basically said, okay, this is MVDEX's Bitcoin wallet, and I'm going to fund this wallet, and then I'm going to use this wallet to fund open dimes, and then embed the open dimes into each piece of artwork and load them with sats. So the title of the piece is the block time from when the piece was completed. So when I completed the piece, I loaded the open dime, and then it's just a random number from the Bitcoin network. And then now, so all MVDEX artwork from now on, no matter what it is, whether it's something that's fully Bitcoin or something that maybe I'm doing, like a mural somewhere or whatever, they'll all be titled, and they'll all have an open dime embedded in them and be titled by the block time. So the earlier number that you have on in block time, then that's the older the MVDEX is.
Yeah, I love that, man. That's so creative, and it solves a lot of that authenticity problem, right? Because so now what anyone could technically do is they could go to block 693623. They could technically, I assume, find the transaction where you funded the piece. Did you fund the piece actually in that block?
Yes.
Yeah. And so how much, the open dime,
yes.
The open dime that's in
that's the piece so I sent 600,000 sats from the MVDEX wallet.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And you have there's a seal that that covers the open dime or hides the open dime, right? Can you explain that? Did I lose you there, MVDEX? Can you hear me? Oh shit, we lost him. Yo, yo, can you hear me now? Cannot hear you. I hear something,
Check.
but I hear something.
Check, check.
Yeah, I got you now.
Hello, 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 hello.
Yeah. Yeah, coming through now.
There we go.
All right, cool.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Got it. So, okay, oh yeah, so it's originally I had created them so that in order to get the open dime out, you'd have to go through quite an archaeological process.
Mm.
Is this coming through okay?
Yeah, I think I got you now. Ah, lost you again. Yo, yo. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? MVDEX.
Oh man, I think it's falling apart here.
Coming through pretty rough. Anything you can do on your end? All right, we lost him. All right, I think we're gonna unfortunately have to wrap this up. Too many technical difficulties. MVDEX is off somewhere in the wilderness of Canada and doesn't have great reception right now. What he did promise is that he'll do a little bit of a write-up talking through. Let's try one more time. Sir.
Hey, check.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
We might be in trouble here.
All right, this is our final try. If it doesn't work now, no worries. Maybe you can hit us up with that write-up we talked about.
Check, check, check.
Yeah, I got you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me now? Is it coming through?
Yeah, I can hear you good
great.
now.
Yeah, I got you now. So, yeah, so that it's sealed in. Originally, I put the open dimes in there so that it'd be extremely difficult to have them removed. And then I realized, well, there's kind of a fun like psychological game if you're able to take the open dime out, if it's less effort to actually defund the artwork.
I can hear you. I'm hearing you. Yeah, keep going.
It's just this, like a cloud blew in or something. Oh, okay, sweet. Yeah, so the seal, I wanted the seal to be actually easier to access the open dime so that the person who has the artwork can actually remove the coins without too much effort. So now there's kind of a psychological game in play, which is in the same way that the Cassacious coins worked. A funded Cassacious coin is worth much more than a defunded coin. So I was thinking that the MVDEXs would kind of work in the same way, where eventually on a long enough timeline, like when we have like dollar sat par, that you know, these are going to be worth quite a lot. Like the artwork will be worth something, but then also the Bitcoins could be, you know, hundreds of thousands in today's dollars. So now whoever, holding the piece, they kind of have this emergency Bitcoin stash, but if they use it, then they're sacrificing funded. So I built a website called verifiedMVDEX.com.
Starting to lose you again, buddy.
Which monitors all the Oaken dimes.
Oh, and he's gone. All right. Well, sorry about that, everyone. Technical difficulties. We tried to make it work. We tried many ways. We tried to get creative. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it all through to you. I'm glad we were able to catch MVDEX there for a little bit and catch a little bit of an introduction. He did promise that he can put together a write-up giving us the inside scoop on all the details of this thing. So we'll look forward to that. We'll make sure we get it out as far and wide as we can. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being patient with us. Get in on this auction. We got 47 hours, 22 minutes to go. It'll be a fun one to watch over the weekend. Hit us up if you have any questions. And otherwise, have a good week.